Hello, everyone. Thanks again to Michelle for doing that great PowerPoint, letting us see a little bit of the great things our Rotary Club has done. I'd like to welcome you all here today with us, our members, of course, and especially would like to welcome our guests. If you happen to be a guest with us today, if you just go to the chat room and give us your name so that our members can take this opportunity to welcome you. And as a guest, we'd like for you to feel free to join any of the activities that you hear about today. And we're just happy to have everyone with us today. And we're going to start off our meeting with the invocation and pledge by Chris Manley.
Okay, please bow your heads for our prayer. Lord, we come to you today to give thanks for this day and the world around us. We pray for peace in our world and for calm minds and eager hearts to work with one another peacefully. We pray for your eyes to see ways in which we can serve fellow men, women, and children in the world around us. We pray for the wisdom and fortitude required to seek justice for all people. We pray for strength and courage to challenge the wrongs in our world that counter our ideals of fairness and benefit for all. Finally, we pray for your blessing on us as we strive daily to uphold the truth. May we daily find ways to make this world a better place for all people so that it is pleasing unto you. Amen. And if you join me, I've also invited my oldest daughter, who is a rising fourth grader, to help us lead the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And now Elizabeth Lyons is going to talk to us a little bit about CART.
I am on the Coins for Alzheimer's Research Trust Committee this year, better known as CART. Laura McCullough, Bill Raines' daughter, is our chairperson. And we are going to have a series of fundraisers this year to meet our club goal of $700, which is really not a big stretch for a club our size. Now, as some of you may know, my 97-year-old mother lives with us, was diagnosed with dementia or Alzheimer's in 2011, but she had signs well before that. She came to live with us about 3 years ago. We are blessed to have her with us instead of a memory care facility, but it's not easy. Dementia is often hereditary. My mother's mother and her older sister also suffered from it. I'm very motivated to help find a cure for this in our lifetime. Currently, we don't have the opportunity to place money in our blue CART bucket, but we are asking you to donate by either sending a check to the Rotary office designating CART in the memo line or donating online to mycartfund.org. Now, all this information is in the bi-monthly newsletter. You just need to read it. For every $25 donated, the donor will be given a free mask. And currently we have 2 wonderful Rotary masks made by Michelle Patterson. And if you make a donation in honor of someone you know or a loved one who had or has Alzheimer's, we will put their name in the newsletter. This is not the last time you will hear from us. We will keep coming up with creative ways to motivate you to donate to this very important effort. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Elizabeth. And I would like to encourage all of y'all to donate to our CART fund. Since they came up with this idea and I got to be one of the first ones to see it, I've already gone online and you can, as they said, give the details and go online and donate to CART, which is a very, very important mission of Rotary. Today, I have several announcements, exciting things coming up. And give me 1 second. Okay, so what is going on in Rotary? As you know, this year we are focusing on networking, service, and fun. So for service, tomorrow we are going to do a drive-through food drive. It'll benefit the area where our Alexander families live. Is tomorrow from noon until 2 in the parking lot of the Rotary office. That's off Pleasantburg Drive. There could be construction going on. Of course, they chose now to work on the parking lot. So if there is, just follow the signs and go around to the back, and we'll be there to pick up your donated items. If you have not been able to shop or are not able to and would like to donate, just let us know by close of business today how much money. And our wonderful Pam Powell, who has organized this whole event of service opportunity, is going to go shopping in the morning. So she'll take your donations and make sure that we have plenty of canned foods to go to support our Alexander families. For networking, we have, some of you may be aware from it's an outcrop of the Peace and Conflict Resolution Conference we had. Our own Teresa Miller has been having lunchtime conversations. So next Tuesday on August the 4th at noon, all these events you can sign up on DACDB, but it's a way of us to learn to carry on conversations, to listen and learn, and especially with people who may have different ideas and opinions, for us to all work together for the common good. Next week's topic will be police community relations. So that's a very important issue with us now. We hope you'll join us. So just sign up on DACDB. And then the fun part. Okay, brand new to our Rotary Club, we are going to have our Greenville Rotary Social Hour. It'll all these events are virtual. So we're asking you to come fly away to Plain Jane's Place. We're just going to relax and catch up and converse. It's been a long, long time since we've had the chance and opportunity to do that. So I hope you will join us. That's going to be on August the 6th at 4:30 p.m. It'll be a virtual social hour. And we look forward to that and hope that you will join us for our first ever Rotary Social Hour at Plain Jane's Place. The other issue, of course, at the top of most of your minds is when are we going to get to meet in person? Every month at our board meeting, we discuss, as Rotary International has instructed us to do, to look at the federal guidelines, the state line guidelines, the local guidelines, to look at our numbers and where we're headed with the numbers. And we're all very anxious to get back together, but as being a leading community organization, we need to also do what's best for our members and the community. So we continue to discuss that every month, and we will let you know as soon as we come up with a solution to that. And also, just to reiterate, the Weston has been wonderful and supportive, and we want to thank Fabian and his whole team for that. So those are our announcements for today, and next we have Bert with a great introduction for us.
Good afternoon, all. In the fall of 2016, I guess it was, I was teaching a Greenville Tech class out at the Greer Middle College for Greer Middle College. Some of them were Greer Middle College students, if I can get my mouth working, out at the Greer or Benson campus. And there was this very quiet young lady who came and sat in my class. And in the end, it did pretty well. She survived. And interestingly, a year and a half later, when we're interviewing the applicants for the Service Above Self Scholarship, who should appear but that same young lady? And that's Abigail Smith. Abigail is a graduate of, as I said, Greer Middle College. She has just finished her second year at Furman and is doing really well. She's gotten to have lots of good experiences, including an overseas semester and all those kinds of good things that come with it. It has been interesting for me to see how that very almost, I would say, shy, very quiet high school junior has blossomed into a really mature young lady of whom all of us in the Rotary Club of Greenville should be very proud as our Service Above Self Scholar. And so she's with us today. I assume she's in one of these boxes somewhere to talk with us about what she has done in this past year to fulfill her requirements as our Service Above Self Scholar. So Abigail, take it away.
Oh, okay. Hello. All right. Thank you, Dr. Strange. I'm sad that I cannot speak to you all in person, but I am honored to be able to thank you once again for what you have done for me. This has been at once an amazing year, filled with wonderful experiences, and also a really hard one that has required more from all of us than we could have expected. Thanks to you, I had the privilege to study in Jerusalem for the fall semester. This was an experience like no other, and I learned more than I could have possibly expected. My classes took me all over Israel and Jordan, where I learned about biblical history in the very land the history was made. I rode a camel through the ancient Nabatean city of Petra, which was also the site of the movie Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. I visited the Dome of the Rock and many other incredible holy sites. I got to help in an archaeological dig on our campus, where I literally got my hands dirty in ancient history. And one of the biggest thrills of the trip, and possibly my life, involved going out onto the Sea of Galilee on a stormy day in the little rickety boat, reading about Jesus on a stormy day in a rickety boat. What a powerful reminder that God can calm all the storms in our life. But outside of my classes, I learned even more. One day I will never forget. My class and I were on a field study in Jordan. We began the day with a visit to a ruined castle. When we arrived, we stumbled onto a family having a picnic in the ruins. But rather than becoming irritated, or even simply tolerating our exploration of the ruins, they invited us all to join them. We could not communicate well, since we knew no Arabic and they knew only some English, yet they shared their food and table, or picnic blanket in this case, with strangers who looked differently, spoke differently, and believed differently than they. This was one of several examples of hospitality that we experienced, and at each instance, I could not help but think how surprising this would have been in America. I took this as a challenge to ask myself, if the roles were reversed, would you have shared your food with them? Not all of our experiences were positive, though. In Israel, I saw racism and injustice that I had not seen before. I remember learning that Palestinians had different license plate tags on their cars. This was part of the segregated road system that exists throughout Israel, so the Palestinian population can be more easily controlled. And as we learn from our own history, separate is never equal. But even this lesson did not sink in until some friends and I visited Bethlehem a few days before we left to see the Christmas tree. We took a taxi, but we could not go the 15 minutes straight back to our campus because our Palestinian taxi driver was not allowed on certain roads, even to ferry American tourists. We had to cross many checkpoints throughout our trip, and each time we were allowed to pass without suspicion, except for our Pacific Islander classmate, who looked a little too Arab not to be examined a little further. These experiences were a good reminder both of how privileged we are and also how much farther we all still have to go. This was a journey I will never forget, and I am so grateful to you at the Rotary Club for making it possible. Many of you know Furman is known for our cheer, FU one time, FU two time, FU three times, FU all the time. But as a Furman professor once told me, it is also FU here, FU there, FU everywhere. When I returned from Jerusalem, I finally declared religion as my major. I'm sure this is all due to Dr. Strange's influence. I'm still working out how I'll use this degree, but I look forward to learning even more. This past semester has offered me another amazing opportunity. I was chosen for an internship at the Love and Fidelity Network that is based out of Princeton University. I worked with them part-time during the spring and full-time this summer to develop an online curriculum for college students to use. I wrote a course called Be Somebody to Somebody, which examines how to live and love well in a world where the script is being continually lost for young people. It is a discussion-based course that offers many readings that examine topics such as marriage, virtue, and relationships. I loved working with the people at LFN, and I loved working on something that they plan to use to help fellow students like me understand and grow in virtue and confidence. Hopefully, my work with them is not over permanently, as they have requested that I lead this course with students at Furman and attend their online summer conference next week. This spring was also my first semester being involved with the Tocqueville Fellows. I was able to discuss one of my great loves, political philosophy, with my peers and several speakers that came to Furman. I would like to recommend a book to you all, if I may. Why Liberalism Failed by Patrick Deneen has profoundly impacted my understanding of the various crises we are living through right now. And I think that every person could gain some insight from this book. I was able to meet Patrick Deneen when he came to speak to us, and I am very grateful to be part of the Tocqueville Fellows for opportunities like this. I cannot end a summary of this year without mentioning the pandemic and all the upsets it brought with it. My internship this summer was supposed to be in person on Princeton's campus, but instead I spent my time in the Ivy League halls of my dining room. Next semester, I had assembled a team to help put on a Veritas forum on campus about Christianity and pluralism. We have had to move the event online, but it is still happening, and possibly we may now be able to reach an even larger audience. I am also the new outreach coordinator for the Baptist Collegiate Ministry, and I must figure out how to reach new students I cannot meet until mid-September at the earliest. I don't know what the future holds, but as I have learned this semester, from the wilderness of Judea to my dining room table, learning can happen anywhere. And thanks to you, I will continue to learn all the time, here, there, and everywhere. Thank you.
Thank you, Abigail. And so now, of course, we really appreciate that and what you're doing. And just so our Rotarians know, some may not know, we are able to sponsor 4 scholarships a year to college students. And those students, like Abigail, are amazing and commit to at least 100 hours of community service while they're in college. And I think that's remarkable. And we're really proud of you, Abigail. Thank you. Next, Kathy McAfee will introduce our speaker.
Thank you. And congratulations, Abigail. I was inspired by your travel log. We're going to learn something here today from one of our own, Rich Hagins. For those of you who don't know Rich, he is a veteran. He has served our country for over 23 years as a United States naval officer. He retired in the year 2000 with the rank of commander. But don't worry, today you can just call him Rich. We'll keep it informal. After he retired from the Navy, he launched his own business following his own entrepreneurial spirit and passion for service, and he founded an organization called US&S Inc. It is a facilities maintenance and support service provider specializing in operations and maintenance, repairs, renovations, janitorial, ground maintenance, and other professional services. Needless to say, US&S is currently an essential business and has been very busy during this pandemic. Over the last 17 years, Rich has grown this business from 2 employees to 250 employees and is now running a multi-million-dollar organization that is growing. Rich was born in Savannah, Georgia, but he has made Greenville his adopted home and has sought to become an integral part of this community through both his work at his company and also his commitment to service. I'm kind of blown away when I look at the volunteer leadership that Rich has managed to do in his very busy life. He has served on the Greenville Metro YMCA board. He's been on the board of trustees of the Blood Connection. He's been on chairman of the Hillcrest Hospital Advisory Board. He was a charter member of the 100 Black Men in the Upstate and is a proud member of Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. Currently, he is serving as the chairperson of the Greenville Chamber of Commerce. And he is a member of our club. Rich is a Rotarian of the Greenville Club. Recently, he was named as the Entrepreneur of the Year 2019 in the Southeast region by Ernst & Young. And that's just many of the accolades that his entrepreneurial leadership has brought to him. So I think we're going to be very excited to learn from Rich today. Get your pen, get your notes, because you're going to want to take some of his golden gems on how to become and stay a successful entrepreneur. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Rich Hagins.
Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for the introductions, and good afternoon to my fellow Rotarians. It's a pleasure being here. They always said when you're talking to your contemporaries, is always a tough crowd to talk with because most know you, and so it's a little different thing here. But I'm going to try and tackle this broad subject of becoming a successful entrepreneur. Now, it is broad, and as Kathy and I talked earlier, we can probably do this in about a week or two, but we're going to bring it down to at least about 28 minutes or so to kind of catch a little area of it, have some fun with it, and to see can we relate sort of that young entrepreneur with this great idea, and kind of walk through some things we should consider. We're going to ask a couple of questions, and I'm going to ask Kathy to field those questions in the chat. So I wanted to be a little interactive in that regard, but we're going to move forward. As Kathy did say, though, I am the CEO of USNS, and we do specialize in operations and maintenance and janitorial services, ground maintenance, etc. But today, let's focus on 3 topics, okay? And they're going to be, one, we're going to talk about building a strong team. And for this conversation today, let's talk about it being an external strong team. And then the second topic we're going to try to tackle in short motion is to actively listen to your business. So we're talking about that new entrepreneur that's had this bright idea, and we're going to start working that idea, start trying to grow that idea. But we also got to, step back sometime and listen to that business. And then the third area we're going to talk about is that development, diverse client base. And we'll talk more about that when we touch base. But I do want to kind of digress a second and talk to you a little bit kind of why I'm here. And Kathy mentioned to you that I grew up in Savannah, Georgia, went in the Navy as a young lad after college, and went through the late 70s, the 80s, and 90s as our country developed and grew. And with that, a lot of learning happened, and a lot of core values got instilled in me. And those core values kind of made up who I am. So when I look at becoming a successful entrepreneur, it starts with you and I, with that vision of what we want to do, right? And so before you did that, though, something had to drive who you are to create what that vision is. And so some of the traits that I looked at as I boiled down, who is Rich Hagins, all those tests that you take, there's about 5 things that I thought really came to light. One was, I've been told, that I'm a driven person, and if you look at a driven person, it's determined to succeed. That also might mean that we try to work above the line and not stay in the negative, but always try to play in the positives. So I have a sense of obligation. The second thing that people have brought out, and I feel appropriate, is that I'm very passionate. Okay, I'm capable of expressing intense feelings. I'm enthusiastic. As we talked about being driven, I'm positive. But the third thing is humility. And when I was told about that part of me and it was coming out, and I really thought about it, I thought about my life experiences and not being so prideful and arrogant. I thought about being humble. And those things, I got some friends that say, man, Rich, you always looking at the bright side of things. It might be kind of something that happened one way, but I said, but this is what we did, and it kind of gets better. So that's kind of, I love that about life and people. And then the fourth thing is honesty. That fairness, being straightforward in conduct. I think when people know that you're authentic, they relate with you better. The barriers come down. They're more open to communicate with you. And then lastly, being intentional. And what I mean by that is being deliberate. Conscious about what we're doing. So, when I look at all of those, you might ask the question is, okay, what does it have to do with business or building a long-term business or being a successful entrepreneur? Well, here's what I like to say about that is that our core beliefs makes up who we are and how we express that to everyone around us. So in a two-word thing, it's my why. So my why has been developed, not just starting the company, but my why was developed over a long period of time. And I stopped there and I wanted to go there because I wanted you to understand who Rich Hagins really is. And it's not that some days I'm higher or lower. I got feelings. I feel the pressures of the business. But I understand that, when I was in the Navy, I was responsible for your sons and daughters when we were out there in the field or at sea and those sort of things. I took that responsibility pretty seriously. My transition to being an entrepreneur, it's the same. I'm still responsible for your sons and daughters and helping them shape their lives to be successful. And so that same feeling of gratitude that I had serving my country, I have the same feeling serving the men and women under the banner of USNS. So I just wanted to let you know what that is and how that shaped me, because it was very important. So our first topic that we want to touch on is building a strong team externally. So what does that really mean? Because we're entrepreneurs, we're trying to put it together, we want to be successful, we got a bright idea, but when we're doing it, what I'm saying is, you don't have to do it alone, right? We have to put some people around us that supports our ideas, but also strong enough to tell us, I'm not sure if you thought about this or that. So some of the people that was on my external team was a banker, so good bankers, a good lawyer, having a good accountant, some mentors, and some advisors. Those individuals that you have to really think about your why, your core values, and ensure that those people that you pick in your external team, their core values align with yours. And then try to get them engaged. Now, I have a question for you, is that who is on your external team? And if you could throw that into chat, Kathy will gather all of those, but I'm interested to know what those things are. And I'm going to give you a minute to do that, probably about 15 seconds or so. But who's on your external team?
All right, Rich. So we have a strong mentor, informal mentors. Teresa Miller, a teammate, says Amy. Let's see, we've got some mentors in business that Carson Fox has listed, Ed and Andy, so individuals. I've got down my accountant, I have a business coach, my virtual assistant, my attorney, my insurance broker is on my strong team. Anybody else want to pipe in? In Rotary, great volunteer leaders, says Jane, part of her external success team.
I think those are Kathy, those are very, very good. And
my wife, said Rob. Your partner.
Hey,
I love it.
You know what? When you have a supportive spouse, it's gold. It's gold, because what they say about being at the top of your organization, it's a lonely place. And so you have to find those individuals that you can be human, that you can pull layers off and expose yourself. And having a strong spouse is just invaluable. So thank you for that. But we're going to move forward and talk about mission focus. And I wanted to bring in mission focus because as you started that business and you kind of pulled things together, you said, this is where I want to go. this is what we're going to do. We got to focus on how do we now start building that core. Now, there's a lot to talk about that, but here's the thing. So when you focus on your mission and you're trying to build a business, sometimes shiny objects creep in and it can pull you off. It's like those of us that have a dog, right? The dog knows that we're going to go out, take him outside, is going to go to the bathroom, do his thing, we pick it up, come back, bring the dog in, that's cool. But when the dog, you do that and the dog looks and see a shiny object, it's not even thinking about its mission to go outside with you and go to the bathroom. And that's the kind of analogy about don't get pulled off, because then those shiny objects will do it. Now, how do you know if you got pulled off? How do you know? Well, here's a telltale sign. One reason you know is that people don't know what you do anymore. You know, we start a business and we say we make tires. And so we started making tires, and all of a sudden we started making parts to go on cars, the 4 tires, and they forget that you even make tires. Then people get confused. So what happens is you start drifting off of that mission, that product or service that you want to do. And now I want to tell you this, it's easy to do. So I'm gonna give you a good example. So we are a facility support services company. So we do general maintenance and repairs, right? And we do janitorial and grounds, that sort of thing. So then just starting out, and we're moving along, and somebody says, hey, I need 150 pails of paint. I need somebody to do it. So you're thinking like, okay, that's easy, you know? So what's my drivers is this. I want to keep the lights on. I want to be able to pay people. I got to make this business succeed. This is just a little thing. I'll go off and do it. Easy, right? And before long, people start thinking that you're doing supplies and procurement, and that's not even what you do. But other people start saying, hey, this is what he does. And so all of a sudden, nobody knows what I do. And I need, and you need, our people in the field that know us and love us and respect us and want to support us. We need them to tell our story. So we got to make sure that our story is clear and concise. So our vision is important, right? It's important. It's what we do, is how we run the day-to-day functions of our job between our vision and our core values. So look at those areas, ensure that they align. Because remember, we're talking about being this successful entrepreneur, and we're at the beginning of what we're trying to do. So that's really important. And here's something that Steve Jobs said, it always sticks with me. He said, deciding what not to do is as important as what to do. You know, when I first heard him say that, it didn't resonate initially. I was kind of, I kind of got all bummed up what he was saying. Deciding what not to do is as important as what to do. And I was thinking, wow. But as I grew as a person, I realized that sometimes you have to say, no, we can't, that's not what we do. And I think that would be important for all of us to consider as we're building a strong team, creating our vision, our mission, and deciding what path we're going to go in, not to be pulled off by shiny objects. The second area that we want to talk about is actively listening to your business. Actively listening to your business. Now, here's the thing. We're some of us are type A's. We're hard chargers. We want to get it done. We're running hard. We have a great idea. It sounds really good. And that's where we headed. But we're not listening to what the business is saying, meaning it's what the customers are saying. It's what our core competencies have changed to. You know, we start hiring individuals. Some of them are very, very good, and their core competencies are stronger in other areas. So, where do you look? One is kind of look at our P&Ls, right? Our financials. We start looking and deep diving to say, okay, here are the things that we're doing, and we're doing well, and we're not doing well. And here are the margins and where we're growing to. Is the business starting to say, you might be good here, but maybe not so good there? Even if it affects our ego, right? Because you remember, the strong entrepreneur that started this whole company started with their own vision of what they wanted to do. And by golly, we're going to do that. I don't care what happens. Well, we got to listen to our business. We need to do customer feedbacks, make sure that we're growing in the area that we want to. And if we're not, let's not be afraid to pivot. Okay. You might need to rebrand. You might need to change the name of your company as we go along, because remember, we're listening actively to our business. So USNS is a good example. Kathy so elegantly introduced me, a USNS Inc., CEO, great, true, but that's not where we started. We started with Universal Supplies and Services. That was the name of the company. Universal Supplies and Services, because it kind of mirrored what I was kind of thinking about doing, some supplies, maybe in some services. And, we started morphing it to all these shiny objects, and it started to happen. And what we realized is that we don't do supplies. But every time I talk to anybody and I said, I introduced my company as Universal Supplies and Services, he goes, great, what supplies do you do? And I was thinking, we don't do supplies. So why did I do that? So bringing extra people on board, brainstorming it, we decided, you know what? IBM is not international, business machines. It's IBM. Let's become USS, and let's brand that name and be synonymous with, performance excellence, high integrity, safety, you on and on. Let's do that. So that's how UNS did. I rebranded. So my question is, did any of you rebrand or change your business along the way? Those entrepreneurs, did you do it? And again, Kathy would collect those, and then we'll kind of throw a few out. But don't be afraid to change course, but do it in a way that's driven by data, not by emotions. So I'll give you a chance to throw a few things in chat. And Kathy, if we got a few, please.
Okay. For the entrepreneurs and business owners out there, have you, in your experience, made the decision to rebrand your company? You can put yes, no, maybe. And if those of you who have, what prompted you? So Mia Potter says, changing course based on projects I am developing right now. So it sounds like you are in the process of considering that.
Yep. Great.
Anybody else go through the exercise of rebranding? Okay, Lori Rovin, when I led Pendleton Place, I had to work with the board and rebrand and identify new priorities. So a lot of people involved in a rebranding process. Rob Rowan added the focus to put more time into community projects and making a difference. Sounds like that kind of mission and vision part of that rebranding effort.
Exactly. Exactly.
Chris Manley, our nonprofit, experienced a renaming several years ago, and that added clarity to our mission to increase awareness in the community. So one of the benefits of rebranding, bringing that clarity and mission focus.
Exactly. Exactly. So those are really good. Thank you so much for doing that. As we continually actively listen to our business, and as you heard from even Chris Manley, running a nonprofit, it's a business, and we have to sometimes pivot. just to ensure we stay relevant. So, so I'm going to move to the third element here today. Again, is develop a diverse client base. So what do I mean by that, right? A diverse client base. Am I talking diverse into culture, or diverse in race? I'm not. I'm talking about diverse meaning let's spread ourselves among a wide variety of clients, different clients. So what I used to always tell the staff, hey, I want you to get in with the client, understand the client, do really well, and then go deep and wide. Go deep and wide. That's, your best client is the one you got, all right? Because you've already built that loyalty, that trust, and those sort of things, which is probably the most difficult thing to do. Now, if I digress again, as a startup, and we just started this, we want to be a successful entrepreneur, we might start with 2 companies that really loves what we do, and we're going deep and we're going wide. And when somebody says, how diverse is your client base? Well, it's 50% this A and 50% B, not too diverse, right? Well, we got to start somewhere, right? But as we start growing that company, start bringing in revenue, start to be able to bring in more experienced employees to help you grow that business. And then as you continue to do that, and then we look at diversifying. Now we try to find businesses or industries that like what we do, and then be able to insert ourselves. And then what happens is that 50% start to dilute a little bit, right? It might go down to 40 and it starts spreading, 25. And those are the things that we want to do. Now, what's important though, is that what we all know as entrepreneurs is the buyers, they're risk averse, right? What I mean by that is that they are used to their customers as well. Their customers are us. So they've been always doing business with company AB. AB has been really good delivering. So for them, why should I try US&S or your company? Why should I do that? I'm already have a measure of success. I'm not sweating whether or not that they're going to do a good job, because they do a fairly good job, and those sort of things. So that's kind of the hard thing. But once you break through, you have to perform. You have to find solutions to get yeses, because the easiest thing is for someone to say no. If they say no, okay, no. But to say yes means it takes effort. So we want to get to the yeses and then create that loyalty. Now, here's the key to this number 3 topic of development a client base and developing loyalty among buyers. Here's the key. I want each and every one of you all to think about this. Our goal is to develop a relationship that we become a trusted advisor to that buyer, a trusted advisor. Now, what do I really mean by that? I mean that I want to build a relationship, and you want to build a relationship with our client, our buyer, that they're willing, because they feel so good about talking with us, to talk about their problems and where they need help. And here's where we come in. We recommend solutions that may not be us. It doesn't have to be us. It might be something totally unrelated to what you and I do, but we know that in Rotary, there is a company that does X, Y very well. And I tell the buyer, I said, you know what? You should call this person. They do it well. And they come in, they do a great job, and the buyer's happy. And guess what? you're going to get another job from that buyer, because you know why? Because you built a tremendous trusted relationship that wasn't about self. It was service, right? Above self. And I think we Rotarians know what that's really all about. Maintaining high ethical standards, you know, not only in our businesses, in our profession, but in our personal life as well. So all that ties in to what we were doing. Now, I've talked about three things, and I want to say them again. I talked about building a strong team, and we talked about external team. I talked about actively listening to our business, making sure that we're on track, that we're flexible enough to pivot, and then developing a diverse client base. Now, here's what I want to say in conclusion. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of trust in people. It's sometimes luck, because things do happen. Mayhem is always around the corner, and we have to make sure that we're able to sidestep mayhem and make our appropriate corrections. But we're in tremendous times today, okay? In my short period of being in business, about 17 and a half years, I went through 2009 and 10, where the banks was not lending money, that a lot of us were going through tremendous hard times, and that we had to dig in, we had to look really inside and say, we're going to make it. We're going to decide how to do it, how to take care of our people, and how we're going to pivot during those hard economic times. We were fortunate. I'm thankful to our God for allowing us to make it through that. And now here we are in the pandemic. A lot of our contemporaries are suffering. And my heart is heavy for them. Kathy mentioned earlier that we are an essential business, so we did not have to close. And quite frankly, because our heavy experience in the janitorial and the COVID cleaning area, which that's a new word, right? The COVID-19 cleaning, new word, new pivot, but was aligned in what we have our core competency is in, allowed us to pivot and continue to grow the business while serving others. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to share just a little bit of nuggets, because becoming a successful entrepreneur is an everyday challenge. It takes life experiences, hard work, obviously. You can't do it in 20, 25 minutes, but I am always open to talk more about it, because I'm invigorated. It drives me, and I'm there for you as a fellow Rotarian. So with that, are there any questions?
If anybody has a question, go ahead and either unmic yourself and ask, or put it in the chat box, and we will read it out and have Rich provide some insight. It's a big topic. Deliza says, thank Rich for sharing your insights and your service to our country and our community. Thank you for continuing to take care of our sons and daughters.
Thank you.
Okay, here's a question from Randy. What has the Chamber done to address your points made around entrepreneurship?
Well, the Chamber obviously is all about business. And we've been affected by the pandemic, just like most non-essential businesses. But what I learned from the leadership of Carlos Phillips and his team is that they pivoted. They made active engagements with the community, not only in the COVID-19 Mass Up programs, but also sharing of information to businesses continuously. If you look at the chamber, if you subscribe to the chamber page, you see every week there's tons of good information on helping businesses, whether it's talking about a PPP or disaster relief, or what the Greenville County is putting out monies to businesses. I mean, I'm so proud of the leadership at the chamber at a time where the chamber is truly suffering economically. But I'm also equally proud of the investors that continue to support the mission of the chamber. So great question. And thank you all who are investors with the chamber.
I have another question from Carson. During your first couple of years as you were starting out, your first couple of hires, did you hire them a little before you needed their full-time help, or did you wait until you absolutely needed to hire someone? What are some of the important lessons you've learned about hiring well?
Well, great question, Carson. And here's what really happened to Rich Hagins. So I started as an entrepreneur like you and others, and the first hire was me, but I didn't get paid. I hired a part-time person to answer the phones. So I took trash out. I was a project manager. I was the on-site supervisor. And then as I got a little bit more revenue, I had to hire individuals that I felt inside of them had an entrepreneur spirit and that were teachable or trainable in what we did. Now, one might say, why don't you just hire a professional person that did X, Y, Z? Here's the truth, I couldn't afford to. I didn't have the money, so I had to use my leadership ability to discern whether the person could be shaped to move from one position to another position and help grow them, you know. And I just felt so good, Carson, to say, you know, here's this person that we bought in, showed them how we did it, and now they're leaders in the organization, didn't have any experience. Now, here's what I do want to add to everyone is that once you start growing your business and you start developing more revenue, right, where you can start bringing in more talent, then the focus shifted, right? The focus shifted on let's hire individuals with strong core competencies in our area, because now we're really trying to build a long-term sustainable business, and you need the talent to do it. So it was two phases, and we're going strong. I think that the average tenure right now is about 8 to 9 years of people at USNS. So in the core staff. So I'm really happy that we're able to retain those good people.
Awesome. Thank you. We have time for 2 more questions, and we have a lot coming in. Rich will get all the questions, and I'm sure he'll follow up with each of you. There's 2 questions that relate to looking back. Hindsight is 2020. What would you have done differently in your early startup phases if you could rewind and start over?
Well, you know, one of the things I mentioned, I think it might have been about focus. Honestly, I was so wanting to succeed, wanting to keep money coming through the door, to keep the lights on, to keep people getting paid, that I started taking any and everything. So many of our friends like you out there that knew I was struggling, trying to get this business going, offered a lot of different things. They weren't what we were trying to grow up to be, but it did help me continue to grow the company. And I think it lasted too long that I kept mission drifting. And so, as I said earlier, when I went to places and they said, oh yeah, there's Rich Hagins, and somebody said, what does he do? Nobody said what I did accurately, because nobody knew what I did. I was a jack of all trades and master of none. And so I waited too long.
Very good. And I'm going to give you a softball for your final question. This is kind of our thank you to Rich, coming from Sunny Handa. How are you different from your competition?
Well, you know, when you do janitorial, when you do maintenance and all, kind of, if you put us in the same category, say, oh, y'all do this. Here's where I think we're different, is that we really, really work on 3 Ps, okay? That is people, people, and people. We work very hard at the culture of what we're doing, that we work to get it from the staff throughout the field, that we care about you. Our number one core is family. That's our number one core. And when a person gets indoctrinated in our team, we talk about family and service above self. And those things, and there's more cores, but that is the cornerstone, I believe, that from a small business, that's easy to say, let's build this culture. But if you start growing that business to push that out, that everyone understands that we care about you. And here's the last piece. My organization is a flip organization. The most important person in my organization is the people, because the people touch the customers. And I tell them all the time, I don't run the business, you run it. You're the representative of this company. And I think when that permeates throughout our customers, they see a difference. That shows what USNS is really all about. Great question. Thank you.
Rich, thank you so much. I can't thank you enough. I would like to say that I didn't take credit this before because I had to wait until after your awesome presentation, that when I first met you, I personally wanted to hear your story, and it was fantastic. So now I'll take credit for that, since it was great.
Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that.
And thank you so much. And it's so, I think, vital to us today in Rotary, because we're having to pivot. We are not last year's Rotary Club, and we may never be. So all that you have given us today has been great. I especially like the go deep and wide. So we are going to take what you've shared with us today and put it into effect to our Rotary Club. And then to be able to book in from your wonderful presentation to hear Abigail, who we're so proud of, and we are thrilled that as Rotary, we get to be a part of supporting you. Last year, my son married a young woman from Jordan. So we got to visit your experience of Jordan right beside Israel. And I'll have to say that she shared with us, which I think is one of Rotary's founding ideas, is that let's all pray for peace. And I think that that reiterates what we all pursue in the world and what Rotary pursues. So thank you both for what you've done. Thank you to all of our great Rotarians who were part of the meeting today, and for our guest. And just so you all know, what is Greenville Rotary about? Well, Greenville Rotary opens opportunities in networking, service, and fun. So I'd like to remind you very quickly of what's coming up. Tomorrow, the 29th, the food drive from noon to 2. That's your opportunity for service. We have networking opportunities for the lunchtime conversation, which is on August the 4th. Hope you can join us for that. For fun, on August the 6th, Plain Jane's Place. So it's going to be interesting and unique. And then our next meeting will be August the 11th, and Steve Hall will be with us, and he'll be discussing finding great people. So we look forward to that. I would ask you all as Rotarians and guests to join us in the 4-way test. Of the things we think, say, and do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you all for coming, and hope to see you in the coming weeks. This meeting is adjourned.